This episode of the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast is brought to you by Audible.com.
Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky.
Audible.com. Over 85,000 titles to choose from for your iPod or MP3 player.
Warning!
The podcast you're about to hear is very filthy. We say naughty words you would use as an adult anyway. It'll cause you not to eat your vegetables, and your mom generally thinks it's a bad idea.
Any moment of the show that has any similarity to the history of any person living or dead, real or fictional, to real events are entirely unintentional and coincidental. Unless we're specifically noted otherwise in the cast and crew credits, all celebrity voices are impersonated, and no celebrity has endorsed any aspect of this show.
Coming to you from the D4K studios in Columbus, Ohio, it's the good, the bad, and the geeky.
Everyone, welcome out to the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky.
Damn it.
Episode 170.
3, 2, 1.
We're not cutting. And I'm Nick Nitro, along with me, as always.
John Mateen.
Did you meet?
And we... Oh, my God.
Did you meet?
Did you meet?
Shut up, Paul.
Did you meet? Did you meet? Did you meet what? Did you meet who? Did you meet where?
Mm-hmm. Did you meet when?
These
Did you
are
meet how?
Did you meet how?
Or why?
Why did you meet?
Why did you meet? Oh, man. Well, we got a really awesome show for you today with a very awesome guest, but we have a few things we want to plug and get out of the way. First off, TalkSuperstation.com. This is where you're listening to us right now. If you're streaming, or every Tuesday at midnight, or that's Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, because that's important to classify.
Depends on how you look at it.
Exactly. So if you, and then they just go,
Yeah.
awesome, and we also need to. Where's my other notes? Isn't that great? I lost my notes, and we got some other really cool things to plug, which is our. That's right. We have our first ever. What do you mean? What?
You said we have a lot of things to plug,
Yeah.
which is plural, but then you said which is.
Huh?
Which are?
There you go.
Oh, which are?
Whatever.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you meant like ROUR.
Yeah. Our.
Yes.
Which
What he said.
are.
R. Okay.
About A-R-E.
That's what. Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho.
Well, we have our first. There we go. Am I good? Okay. First live show.
I just thought we were trying to be pirates.
When is Talk Like a Pirate Day? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Wasn't it like in February already?
I would think it'd be in March.
March.
May.
We have our first.
Why would it be? You're retarded. August.
We have our first ever live show, The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, live and unedited at Pack Rat Comics, Saturday, June 9th at 9 p.m. All the proceeds go to charity, so check out our show notes. There'll be a link where you can buy the tickets there. There'll be pizza, drinks, prizes. There'll be the three of us. We'll have Jerome Wetzel daily there, sort of doing whatever he does, be gay. And
It's September 19th.
September 19th, that's an important day. We're plugging that too.
National Pirate Day.
National Talk Like a Pirate Day.
Okay.
But if you want to check out these great people who are letting us use their art space called the Rogues Gallery, packratcomics.com. Also, the first Saturday in May, which I believe is May 5th or 6th, which is this coming Saturday, is Free Comic Book Day, and that's also when you can meet Ernie Hudson from the Ghostbusters and the Crow.
Sweet.
Who's that?
He's in
3,
Ghostbusters and the Crow.
2.
He's in. Okay. I hate to say it like this.
Explained it?
See how I explained? He's the guy from
That's why they
Ghostbusters.
said Ernie Hudson. He's in the Ghostbusters and the Crow.
Yeah, that doesn't tell me who he is.
Okay,
He's not a main character.
Okay, now let's look at the Ghostbusters. There are 4 main Ghostbusters.
He is neither of them.
Good job.
He's not Bill
Murray.
He's not Bill Murray. He's not Dan Aykroyd. He's not Egon, a.k.a. Harold Ramis.
He's not the black guy, is he? I Is he the black guy?
Yes, Ernie Hudson's he's the token black dude in Ghostbusters.
His name is Ernie?
Ernie Hudson, yeah.
He was in The Crow?
Yeah. Dude, the dude's honestly been in like 5,000 more things, but like the biggest things you would go, like if you watch a movie with him in it, you'd be like, oh, it's the dude from Ghostbusters.
He didn't look like an Ernie.
So what, you saying John looks like a John and I look like a Nick and you look like a Nate?
A little bit.
I think you look like in the fandom.
Oh, you look like a fucker.
All right, Nathaniel Gene Haley. If you'd like more information on Free Comic Book Day with a meet and greet with Ernie Hudson, star of Ghostbusters.
I love this town!
And
I know.
Yes. That's at www.packratcomics.com. Very cool. And we've got a very awesome special guest on this week's show.
Yes.
And I've been a big supporter of Eli Stone, throughout the show's run. We've had Mark Guggenheim, who co-created the show, but we've never had any of the stars from Eli Stone. He's also in NBC's Parenthood. He plays this role of Joel, which is I love everyone in that show. But we have Sam Jaeger, and he also went to Otterbein, which is your alma mater, Nathan.
It is my alma mater.
It is your alma mater, and I remember we partied, even though at the time it was a dry campus. We did party hardy there a lot.
We heartily partied.
Yes. We can't. Can we say no? Who cares?
So you hardly partied?
We hardly partied or partly hard?
Or heartily?
Heartily.
We partied heartily.
Okay.
Heartily.
Gotcha.
Heartily.
Heartily.
Yeah, and he also
Kittens.
Kittens.
Mountain Dew.
He is, not only is he in Parenthood, he is also the writer, actor, and director, and I believe producer of the film Take Me Home, which I saw a few months ago at the Arena District here in Columbus, Ohio. It is phenomenal. So I'm going to talk to him about hopefully a little bit of everything. And so if you hear anything on tonight's show you want to talk to us about or get a hold of us about, goodbadgeeky@gmail.com, or you can 614-364-4088. So anything else you guys want to say before we get over to Sam? Take a break and get over to Sam?
No, I'd say we get on the Pat.
Yes. All right. Well, they don't
want to hear us.
We be right back.
All right.
With Sam Jaeger.
Wake up, go to work. Work. Come home. Eat dinner. Rot your brain out. Go to bed. Lather. Rinse. Repeat. Are you tired of an old humdrum life? Tired of things that just weigh you down and depress you? Wouldn't you rather just focus on things that are awesome? Tune into Nutty Bites. Find out what's awesome. Nutty Bites. nimlas.org/blog.
You know what book I just read?
What?
The Hunger Games.
Oh, that movie was fantastic, but I heard the book was way better.
Me too.
It was fantastic, actually.
Yeah, I just wish I could read it.
I don't have time to read it or any book, really.
Yeah, well, it's just hard for Nate and I to get a book in because with student teaching and, with my job and everything.
I get it, guys. I do. With being married and having a little girl and running a business, I'm busy all the time, too. That is why I listen to audiobooks on my MP3 player. It helps me stay in touch with books I want to read and allows me to fit it in between the rest of my responsibilities. That is why, for some of you listening to the Good, the Bad, and the Geeky podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 14-day trial to give you a chance to check out their service.
Oh, wow. I was able to sign up and get a free copy of A Game of Thrones.
Do they have Bossy Pants by Tina Fey?
You bet your sweet Bippy they do.
Awesome.
So if you'd like to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky. Again, that's www.audibletrial.com/goodbadgeeky for your free audiobook.
Sam, you're on with Nick.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Amanda. Sam, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to do this, man. We greatly appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have so much I want to talk to you about because, first off, we're from Columbus, Ohio, and you went to Otterbein, which is Westerville area, but you are from Ohio overall. So that's...
Yeah. In fact, we shot a large chunk of Take Me Home in Ohio, which is awesome. We, a great number of the scenes I realized could be shot in Columbus, and it could look like the Midwest.
Exactly.
When we scouted the country, we realized that Ohio through half of Kansas can pretty much look like Columbus. So, so we got my alma mater Otterbein to put up my 8-person crew, and we shot around there for about seven days. So yeah.
So Otterbein supplied the crew?
Well, Otterbein housed the crew. They put them up on their apartments on campus, nice. And so it was one of the many ways we cut corners on financing and so forth. But yeah, man, it's a thrill to talk to another Columbus native. My wife is from there, the star of the movie.
Yeah,
and
she plays Claire.
Yeah. I was reminded of Columbus this morning because this is so strange. Like a mile down from where we live in Pasadena, there's this co-op, and they just started, I'm not kidding you, they just started serving Jenni's ice cream.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
That's crazy.
I was like, I saw it in the store and I just about crapped myself.
This sounds very weird, but like us people from the Midwest, or Mideast, or am I saying that right? Yeah, I get it confused all the time. But do you remember Tasty Cakes? It was like the East Coast versions of like freaking Hostess cupcakes. Do you guys have that out there?
Tasty Cakes?
Tasty Cakes, yeah.
No, I don't know of it.
Oh, I just remember, like, I started seeing it, like, there's Hostess, that's everywhere, but, like, on the East Coast, there's, like, especially Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia area, there's, like, one of those weird little things, like, it's really big here, but it's almost like In-N-Out Burgers, partial to the West Coast. The East Coast has, granted, it's not burgers, but yeah, it's always weird to see stuff like that, where it's distributed in the country, and it's always really cool. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're one of those individuals too that I didn't really. I've seen you before and other stuff, not before Take Me Home, of course. I have seen you before Take Me Home, because I'm a big fan of Eli Stone and Parenthood.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and I've interviewed
great.
Mark before, Mark Guggenheim. He's a wonderful individual, and
yeah, he is.
And I also saw you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mark's deep into the comic book world, so that's.
Yeah,
that's why we get along so well. I was a comic book nerd growing up.
What's your favorite superhero?
Well, I guess growing up was, you got to go with Batman or Wolverine. Yeah. You?
Oh, mine is mine's now it's Spider-Man for them. I mean, yeah, because I still pick up some Spider-Man issues, but when I was growing up, it was not the pizza eating cowabunga, but the badass Ninja Turtles. Spider-Man and Wolverine. I loved Wolverine in the 90s.
Wolverine.
Yeah, he was awesome. Totally. When were you reading comic books? Was that late 80s or early 90s, or?
It was 80s into 90s. I got out of it when it got too expensive for me. So that was the. Yeah,
and there's better ways to spend your money on, a little bit.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, yeah, because that was one of those things. The same thing happened with me too. Like it was right around when Image Comics hit, Spawn and the Max and all that, and they were good. But I just had
that's when the art got amazing, but the storylines got terrible.
Right. Yeah, because especially Amazing Spider-Man, they had the Clone Saga, and crap. So, but I digress. Yeah. But no, I thought that was really cool, because I've seen you in not Take Me Home. I have seen you Take Me Home, but I mean, what's the movie you did with Kevin Smith? Catch and Release.
Oh yeah.
And then, of course, a movie you only see someone for maybe 2 hours, and even though I enjoyed the film immensely, I loved it. I bought it on DVD and all that stuff. I didn't really start realizing who you were until Eli Stone, and then Parenthood, and then of course I saw on Twitter one day randomly. I was like, well, Sam's been working on this film for years called Take Me Home, and it's premiering in Columbus, and I checked it out at the Arena Grande, and man, I gotta tell you, dude, I loved the movie. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, thanks. And, that's great to hear. Thank you.
No, not a problem, because I really, I'm going to compare you a little bit to Zach Braff's Garden State in terms of you guys, I think, in different ways tackle similar themes about feeling lost and trying to find yourself, trying to find where home is. And the only thing is that, and listen, I cuss like a sailor. I say fuck all the time. But I guess you did it in a very mature. I'm not saying that Zach didn't do it that way either, but there was barely any cussing in the movie, but it felt very realistic, a little bit more, even more so than Garden State, I guess. And I appreciated the film way more for that too, and for all the little things you did. Like you would stay on when I call him Dan because I think it's sort of a spoiler point. But Dan, because he's hiding something, is driving and leaves Claire at, I think it was the Raisin Rack, I think, right? And which is here is, I think it's near campus in Otterbein, but in Westerville. But he leaves her there and is driving off, and you sort of you're so happy with yourself, and it's wonderful acting, but it's also wonderful directing because you just leave the shot there, and usually a film like an indie film even would cut away. But you let it just linger there, man, and it really hits you. I think, at least for me, it hit you at home. It's like, this guy's a very normal human being, you know, because that's something that would happen. Because in a film, you cut around the smaller moments sometimes, and if you can capture that, even better. And So I just,
I realized that I guess, thank you for all those great things. I guess I realized that early on that I wanted to make an independent film that kind of that didn't feel like an independent film or a mainstream film, and that if it was going to be a romantic comedy, it'd be one that didn't disclude the guys, and also that didn't pander to the completely overblown sappy romance, and the other part of that was trying to be as authentic with the kind of the big turning points of the film for the characters. It's another thing I think they kind of gloss over in the big movies.
Sure.
So thank you for all those.
No,
wonderful things.
I was just surprised because I'm a big fan of independent films, but sometimes independent films, they don't. They're good, but I walked out completely. Matter of fact, I was upset that it wasn't, because I saw it the last night it was in an arena, and I was upset that I couldn't go back and see it again.
Oh, cool, man.
No, yeah, and my date, I took a date, and she loved it too, because that was the thing. It didn't feel like romantic comedy, but it did. But it also felt like a just general. Even though Dan and Claire are not in their 20s, but it felt like a very coming of age story about finding yourself, and I really just appreciate that, because I think, as you were saying, it's something. There's always something that the mainstream movies miss, and I think you nailed it. And also, I used to live in Cincinnati, and I would drive back and forth from Columbus to Cincy, and I would always, when you're driving, you see nothing but the cornfields and just the sights. And it really made me feel something that buddy road movies, even, they miss out on completely,
Oh, cool. Well, it may have hit you on a deeper note, because we actually shot two scenes. One at that Prime Outlet Mall. That's
Jefferson
the one
Mall.
from, the one heading from Cincy to Columbus.
Yeah.
And then the rest stop, where they stop with the farmhouse in the background, is actually just a few miles further north from that huge outlet mall. So
that's so sweet, man. That's so cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been working on this movie? Because I remember seeing this back when Eli Stone was still being tinkered on a little bit for season 2. I saw a word about it back then. So how long have you been really working on it?
Well, I started writing it about 8 years ago, and it took about three years to get it to the point where I was happy with it, and another year and a half. Financing every summer, like for 2 summers in a row, fell apart. And then I finally just found this great team that said, whatever budget we got, let's just hit the road with that. And it was actually, we shot it over the course of 2 summers, and then I was doing the last season of Eli Stone, I think, and we shot in the summer before that, and then we shot the following summer. So this is, I guess 4 years ago.
Oh man.
Yeah, 4 years ago, and then 3 years ago, and then the movie took so long to make that one of the last principal photography shoots we did was in Los Angeles here, and it's the scene where they get to Claire's mother's house in Vegas, and that night was when I realized that my wife, we realized that she was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah. And then it wasn't until the very last thing we shot was the photo book. That,
Yes.
I won't give it away, but the photo book that starts the movie, those hands are my pregnant wife's hands.
Oh, wow.
She had actually just given birth 3 days prior.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so we stuffed her into the sweater that she had worn and had her fat fingers flip the pages. Yeah, so it's fun because it has so many. If anything, it's going to be a fun thing to look on for the rest of our years.
Well, it has a lot of real moments between you and your wife in it, and that are like, time capsules almost in a way of what's going on, personally as well as besides the film, which is sort of that's really cool. How old is your kid? If you don't mind me asking.
He's now 2.
He's now 2. Well, congratulations, by the way. Well, my friend, co-host John, he usually can't get to do interviews, but he just had, I think she just turned 5 months, and they're today celebrating, the time we're recording this, celebrating their 3-year anniversary. So yeah, that's
cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. But no, I just really enjoyed the movie. What was? Let me ask about the script writing process for you. When you were starting it, did you workshop it any, go in coffee shops or anything, or was it just you and your wife? Was Amber helping you with the script, or how did that work for you?
Amber helped me out with anything that felt inauthentic in the dialogue. She's pretty focused on figuring out what's honest about the characters, and she helped with some of the dialogue. But the great bulk of it was written in coffee shops and libraries. I finally got to the point where, to really, change my way of thinking about it. As an actor, you have all this kind of strange downtime where you're building up for auditions and then going and doing shows, and then you have all this strange time off that I needed to communicate to myself that I was working, even though I was heading to a coffee shop or a library. And so I would put on a suit to go write.
Wow.
That was my way of telling myself that this was my new occupation.
That's pretty classy, man. Sam Raimi, who directed Evil Dead and the Spider-Man movies and everything, he wears even though you can wear whatever you want. I'm figuring when you're directing movie, but he considers this a serious job. He comes supposedly in suit and tie every day, even when production meetings, because he wants to say, hey, I'm treating this seriously. Let's all have fun with it. And that's pretty epic, man. So on your days off or whatever, you would go to a coffee shop, but you would go in with a suit and tie. That's sort of bad. That's commitment right there, man. That's badass.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's something I even now I'm going to head out to do some writing today, and I'm decked out. It may be too hot in Los Angeles, but I'm going to try and find some good air conditioning.
Hell yeah. Best thing ever. Well, that's the thing. We don't get the super big heat until usually, especially right now with the weather being all wackadoo, we probably don't get till around August or so. But
yeah, isn't that crazy?
I know. I remember 3 weeks ago, it went up to 70 and 80 degrees in Ohio. It's just,
I heard that.
It's crazy, absolutely crazy.
That's nuts.
Do you get to go back to Ohio often to visit family or anything like that?
Yeah, we're back every about 2.5 months.
Wow.
Yeah, my mother-in-law is there, and my brother's a cop in Columbus, and
very cool.
So yeah.
Well, do you ever? What was I'm trying to think of? Did you ever? That's one of those horrible things. I had a question and it gone. It was something about Columbus and you can visit in Columbus, but I'll get back to it, I'm sure, at some point. But no, yeah, man. So this new script, I guess you're working on. Is it something that you're going to produce and direct yourself again independently, or is it something you're Or can you talk about it even?
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah, it's it's kind of been an interesting time period because I spent last year doing the festival circuit with Take Me Home, and I'd like to make a movie that's independent, but I'd also like to make sure it doesn't take as long or as much toil as Take Me Home was. So, but this actually is a horror movie, or I guess you'd call it a thriller that's actually set in rural Ohio.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah.
What was the choice to go with horror? I mean, are you a fan of horror films, and what type of horror films are you a fan of, and how is that being applied to your new project?
Well, I've always been a fan of, I'm just a film nerd. I don't give a crap what the genre is. I love them all, and, growing up in Toledo, when everybody else was out drinking in high school, my buddies and I were directing movies and writing movies and taking ourselves way too seriously for, a couple of kids making feature-length movies on VHS tape.
Sure.
So, I just loved, I always had a buddy who worked at the cinemas, so I'd go and we, root for the horror films and, spend Saturday afternoons watching 3 or 4 movies. And I think what's great about the horror genre is that it's there's a reason it's global, People want, people have a yearning for something beyond themselves, whether it's good or bad. Sure. But, a horror film is a very simple way to tell a morality tale, that there are people who are kind of heading off the deep end, and there are consequences to that. But,
definitely.
Yeah. I would say I just, because it's fresh in my mind, I read an amazing article on Kubrick, an actual huge interview on Kubrick about The Shining, and
wow.
Yeah, and that's been a pretty great guideline to have, and I think hopefully if I do this script some justice, I'll be able to steal as much from his advice as possible.
Well, I just absolutely, I think you'll probably be fine, because if Take Me Home's any indication, I think you're on a good path. And, yeah, well, being a film nerd, every Kubrick, obviously, but, what is, or is maybe not, what is your favorite, who is your favorite film director? Being a film nerd, you like them all, but are you partial more to maybe Spielberg or Scorsese? Is it Kubrick? And what is your favorite film that you look to as this movie has everything?
Yeah, they're both one and the same. My favorite director and I think his best movie are Hitchcock and Vertigo.
Oh,
and
yeah,
what I love about it is in studying it, I realized I kind of like a slower. I'm all for an action movie, but I kind of like a movie that's comfortable pacing itself and going in really twisted directions. And that said, I think Vertigo is just you can study it forever, because there's every single scene and every single line has purpose to it. And I think there's a reason that it holds up after all these years. And certainly I think, Hitchcock was just so inventive and specific in his choices. So he's a pretty great wizard to study.
Definitely. I remember the film that when I was younger, because when I was growing up, AMC and not AMC, but Turner Classic Movies was just starting to come out, and so they would show all these old films, and especially all the old Hitchcock films. The big ones like Vertigo, they wouldn't show that much. They would save that in Rear Window and Psycho for rare occasions, but they would always show North by Northwest and The Birds.
Oh, yeah.
And The Birds, it's a wonderful film. I could never really get into it as much, but I love North by Northwest because looking back, I think that was his attempt to make what is now somewhat close to a typical thriller action film in its earlier sense. And but it's done by Hitchcock. It's his version of it, and it's fantastic. And that was like a gateway drug into Rear Window and Vertigo, and I think it was Cary Grant to Catch a Thief. I think it was.
Oh yeah.
And that was a little bit of more of a different film too. That was his version, a weird version of doing a romantic comedy not comedy, but in a way, a romantic kind of film. Which, and when you think of Hitchcock, though, you think, hello, I'm Alfred Hitchcock, and welcome to Alfred Hitchcock Presents. And, they do the theme where he walks into a shadow. And, because Nick at Night would show that stuff all the time. And you're like, oh, hey, Alfred Hitchcock, he does creepy stuff. And then Birds and Psycho. But then you watch, To Catch a Thief or North by Northwest, and they're just amazing films. And, I love Hitchcock. Is there any screenwriters out there that you particularly like? Because I know sometimes you can lose something in the translation from script to screen. Is there any scripts or screenwriters that you've read that you're like, man, it's the same thing like Hitchcock? It's like, damn, like that's,
Well, I actually, as far as screenwriters go, I think the best script ever written is Chinatown. But I think it's also interesting that for being the best script ever written, that it's one of the best movies ever made because they didn't follow the script at the very the final scene. So I don't know if you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of the big stories about, and this is just what's so fascinating about Hollywood, and I think the really bizarre world of collaboration is that Robert Towne wrote Chinatown. It was considered the best script in Hollywood at the time. They put it together. They got Nicholson, and they got to the final scene, and Roman Polanski was arguing with Robert Towne about the fact that he felt like Faye Dunaway needed to die at the end. And Robert Towne he wanted nothing to do with it. And he walked off the set and kind of disowned the movie because Polanski was going to go ahead and make this movie with this woman dying at the end. And he, wanted nothing to do with it. And then the movie came out. It was a huge success. And he won Best Screenplay. For a movie that he had kind of disowned. And it's just one of those bizarre tales of, who's to say who has the best idea. But yeah, certainly I love his work, and but for a read itself and for as inventive a writer as you can get, I don't think you can beat Charlie Kaufman.
Oh yeah. Oh man, adaptation was. I remember Being John Malkovich came out, and that movie was just so bizarre, and I just didn't. And I loved it, but I was just like, well, where did this guy get? I mean, where did this come from? Like, I've never seen anything like it. And then, I think adaptation. No, I think Being Human or something like that came out next, but then after that it was adaptation. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, my God, this is, who casts himself in a movie? And in a way, it is an actual adaptation of The Orchid Thief, which is just so bizarrely fascinating. And I don't... Really? Right. And then what was the other movie he made with Jim Carrey that was really just fantastic? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Eternal Sunshine, yeah.
Yeah, now I've not seen, was it Schenectady, New York? Have you seen that one yet?
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either, and I've heard it's really good, but I think he's actually directing his own film, or has been working on it, I think, it's as an indie for the past few years. I don't know much about it beyond that. Yeah, but I would like to see, because sometimes he goes... all screeners do, I think, at some point. It's like, well, I had to sacrifice something, or I wasn't really, but, I really still love the film anyway, and, typical stuff. But it was just really fascinating. Now, something else, because I am a big fan of Kevin Smith on Catch and Release. Can you talk maybe a little bit about the making of that, or do you remember anything funny or not funny about working on that film?
Sure. You said you're a big fan of whom?
Kevin. Well, I'm a big fan of everyone in the movie, actually, but Kevin Smith especially was sort of especially in the late '90s was my. I mean, he's the driving force. Spielberg got me started, and then so on. But Kevin Smith, I was like, well, if he can do it, anyone can. And so then, I love Kevin Smith.
Yeah, he's just a singular person, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Have you done an evening with Kevin Smith yet?
Oh, not. You mean like the movie?
No, he does tours, like college tours, where he just talks for 4 hours.
I've not actually sat in on an actual live event. I have like all 4 of the movies. Was it Evening with Kevin Smith, Evening Harder, and then was it Evening 3, and then was it Too Fat for 40? I have all those.
Right.
Yeah,
that's great. He's that was a pretty cool collaboration because Susanna Grant, who wrote Catch and Release, had written Erin Brockovich, and she's considered one of the best screenwriters in Hollywood. And so for her to give permission for Kevin to say, whatever he wanted to say on certain takes, was pretty awesome. Because, she just trusted that she had found the right guy for the job, and that, he was going to be true to, himself, and that was the person that she had cast. But it was great, man. We shot up in Vancouver, we shot in Boulder, and it's one of those wonderful jobs that you get to do every once in a while that is great people combined with, shooting in, amazing spaces. So,
well, my limit to your career, and I do apologize, sort of falls short at that movie. So was there anything that you did before that in terms of, because Eli Stone, I think, came a year or two after that.
Yeah.
What would?
Yeah, no, I was in. I guess my bread and butter was TV. Being the guy that you think is going to be the guy that killed somebody, but it's actually just an imbecile. On all the. I made a living being the asshole on
CSI
and Law and Order, and
man.
Yeah, aside for some earlier movies, I was, I had a small role in Behind Enemy Lines. And you'll have to forgive me, I'm waiting for the train.
Oh,
here.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Do you need to go soon, or?
No.
Oh, okay. No, I don't want to take any more time than, because if you miss a train, and it would be my fault, I feel like a complete douchebag. Sam's a nice guy, but I made him miss a train.
No, don't worry about it. That was. That was just a cool experience. But yeah, early on was I did a movie called Hearts War, and then I also did a movie about 6 years or 7 years back called Lucky Number 11.
Lucky Number? What? Oh, I remember, but I don't remember that. Was that? What?
Yeah. I was the guy who kind of the plot hinges on Nick Fisher, the guy who gets his neck snapped at the beginning of the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was a very funny story. I flew to Montreal. It was -12 when I was there to get my neck broken by Bruce Willis, and then because of scheduling, they had to fly me back two separate weekends to lay on the floor and play dead. So I flew across the country. I guess 4 times to just lay in dead man makeup.
That's hilarious. Because what was it? I think. Do you ever watch the Kevin Pollak chat show with the comedian Kevin Pollak?
Oh yeah, no, I haven't seen it. I know what you're talking about.
He interviews. It's almost like a much cooler version of the Charlie Rose show. And no disrespect to Mr. Charlie Rose. He does do good interviews, but sometimes it's almost a little bit too stuffy kind of thing. And Kevin, it's a lot more laid back. And I forget who he was talking to. I think it was maybe Stephen Tobolowsky. And he noted that he always was telling his parents, listen, I'm flying out. I'm still doing odd jobs, but I got this part in this movie, and they want me to fly in. And he's like, well, I want to be an actor and be outraged because that's how I feel I should be because they flew me out here and they're making me do this and that. But I'm not doing anything. I'm singing my trailer because I got killed already and something like that. And then at the end of it, it was they said, well, no, we're paying you to be here. So don't be outraged. Enjoy getting paid to do nothing for a few days, and then we'll call you back on set. And so, I mean, that had to be pretty cool. You flew out there for a few weeks and just laid there.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, did you ever fall asleep on the ground when you were doing that?
No, I think it was too uncomfortable.
Oh,
and actually, that didn't take too long. I spent most of my time just sitting in a hotel. And then, laying on the floor was 10 minutes. So
isn't that the weirdest part about doing such a big production or in anything, even TV or film? Well, TV I think is a little bit more faster paced because I think you do 7 to 10 pages a day, while normal film it's not that way.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. With Parenthood, we've been really blessed. Parenthood, we shoot with 3 cameras, and it moves faster than any show I've been on. It's just really, for my money, the best way to make television happen.
Well, I love Parenthood because I think it's the same thing I was saying before, which is I think you sort of didn't take me home, which is they let the camera sort of stay on characters for a bit. And I didn't know they did 3 cameras at once. And it makes more sense because when you get into a conversation or even an argument, because like families do, they argue, which happens a lot in Parenthood, which is all the characters are talking at once and and you're just going, how in the hell did they fucking sync this shit up? Because it's awesome. It's a real conversation, a real argument happening, but it totally feels like this would be a nightmare to edit. How are they? Oh, yeah. Yeah, and that makes more sense, though. They have 3 cameras rolling, especially in a digital age. That makes a little bit... Okay, see, that makes way more sense now. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're able to cut those scenes together so much easier. I'm sure it's still a major headache because you have 3 times as much footage, but, we loosely rehearse, and then we get into the scenes, and there's such the creator of our show, who also did Friday Night Lights, Jason Katims, just cultivates this really empowering atmosphere where each department feels like they can do the best possible job with the least amount of restraints. And that's a great place to go into work.
Yeah, well, especially, one of the things I really enjoy about Parenthood is that it sort of embraces, again, not only does it have real conversations, I think, or they make them feel very real because again, 3 cameras rolling, they capture everything. But some of the storylines themselves, and you can tell there's a real sense of camaraderie between everyone, the cast and crew. What would you say has been, especially Joel for season 2, with the baby and the adoption process and everything? I mean,
right.
Your character in the first season was really more, and I still love the show, but he was just sort of there in a bit, and I didn't mean less than that because again he's a rock for oh my god I forget her name, Eric Christensen's character. For Julia.
It was. I had a really interesting, a conversation after season 1 with Jason, the creator, and I just said, I'm not sure what Joel's purpose is. I had just recently been interviewed by somebody for the San Francisco Chronicle who said, is Joel going to just go on a killing spree in season 2? He just seems so perfect, and I had to admit it was a viable option at that time. We really hadn't seen Bill do anything wrong, and to see him struggle, with in season 2 with trying to have a baby, and also with his wife, trying to make the baby known before he was comfortable with it. It was a good chance to see the gloves come off Joel, for a change. And But no, he's still a really solid guy. It's been funny because he's a lot closer to who I am in real life than Matt Dowd was on Eli Stone. But I think Matt Dowd was pretty liberating for that same reason, is that I could kind of enjoy being a total jerk. But we'll see what happens with this new season. It's exciting. We've got an interesting storyline, having adopted a 9-year-old Hispanic boy.
Oh, wow.
It really that's the very last image of the third season here. So the fourth is really it's going to be fascinating, I think, to see what happens with that family dynamic.
Yeah, and I usually am pretty up to date on this, but is Parenthood officially picked up for the next season?
No, not officially.
Not officially? Okay.
We'll be finding out within the next month here. So, but all indications are I'll still have a job.
That's awesome, because Parenthood was one of those shows where I remember, you guys got the show in general. I mean, got a lot of flack because it was 12, almost 20 years later. It's a remake of a film with Steve Martin, and how's it going to go? And I remember watching it, and I was just going like, I just cannot stop watching this show. It's just absolutely fascinating to me. It's wonderful in a good way. It's fascinating in a good way, and I can't stop watching it. And I love all the characters, and you're right. And now, in season, and I've done nothing but talk of the show. It's almost, I'm so happy though that it keeps going along though, because Eli Stone was the same thing as like, why is people watching the show? And luckily Parenthood people are watching the show, but Eli Stone, oh man, that broke my heart on so many.
Oh, I know.
Well, and that was
the good thing. You'll be happy to hear that Johnny Lee Miller's playing Sherlock Holmes for a CBS series coming up soon. So
is he really?
So Eli, yeah.
Awesome.
And he's also in that new Dark Shadows movie. So
yeah.
He's one of the best actors I've ever worked with, and he's just so engaging, to watch on screen, I think.
Well, one of the things that I liked about Eli Stone is because I don't know about you. Are you? I mean, you're an actor. You when you go to when you're in Otterbein and even high school plays or musicals, but are you big into musical theater? Any?
I did do some, quite a bit, at least in high school.
Well, I mean, that was a great thing about Eli Stone, is that it sort of, it in light, but it took it in a serious direction. It was almost like a musical TV show. And in the second season, it was cool because besides the awesome finale to season 1, you got a few more singing parts, a few more dream sequences of singing, which was really cool.
Yeah, it was not part of the original audition, that's for sure. We didn't know it was going to be as musical as it became, and it might have been a little bit for its time because
Glee,
Glee is found a bunch of success. Yeah, coincidentally, our choreographer is the same one on Glee now. So
really, that's bizarre.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, well, that's one of the cool things is everyone's interconnected some way somehow. So that's amazing, man. Because well, did Mark ever tell you, or Mark and Greg Berlanti, when the show did get its end, so to speak, did they ever tell you what the initial plan for your characters were? Or
well, I think they had some initial plans for my character, but the sign of a good writer is you're right to an actor's strength, and they. Throughout the 2 seasons that we did Eli Stone, I think they combined what I had brought to Matt Dowd and, let that influence the writing and vice versa. So, I think it was a much greater part of the storyline after all than was originally anticipated. I think he was just written in to be the flippant asshole on the show, and to give him that much more dimension was a true joy for me.
Right. Well, and to get comic book analogy nerdy here, it's almost in a way he was the divergent path against Eli. He was an antagonist against Eli, almost how Eddie Brock was as Venom towards Spider-Man, which is
right.
nature versus nurture. But then at some point, though, almost like Venom, Eddie or in your case, Dowd started seeing, well, you know what? Maybe this Eli Stone guy has the right mindset. Maybe we because your character really softened, especially in end of season 1, beginning of season 2, really, which was awesome because nothing's better than angry, pissed Matt Dowd, but for the good reason, instead of being the swarmy lawyer. Yeah, no, man, because I love actors who can play sarcasm really well, and you're one of those guys. You can do both, but especially with Dowd, though, he could really be, really be sarcastic, and I love that. That's great.
Well, that's great. Thanks, buddy.
No, not a problem. Well, one last thing before we go in terms of, was there anything else that you would like to plug on the show? We hit Take Me Home with TakeMeHomeMovie.com, Parenthood, Eli Stone, Catch and Release. Was there anything else that you'd like to maybe plug?
No, that's it.
Awesome.
And eat Jenni's ice cream.
Yep. Hell yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for taking time out of your schedule, man. And hopefully you won't miss your train here. And but thank you so much. And by the way, do you guys have a DVD release date yet for Take Me Home? Or Netflix?
No, we don't. I think we're about to announce it pretty soon though here. So I think we'll put it on Take Me Home as soon as it's ready. I think it should be coming out this week. But I think the DVD is I want to say May 30th.
May 30th. Oh, so, awesome. Well, when that comes out, I will be plugging it all over Hell and Half Acre via Twitter and Facebook, anywhere I can. Because again, love the movie. Thank you so much, Sam, for taking time out. You have a good rest of the day.
Thanks, Nick. You too, man. It was a great interview.
Thanks.
Get out of here without cheese! You're a creep! Go away! We're having a good time until you start up, cheapers! Go have some coffee with cream or something! Because I'll tell you something! This is a happy place!
What the fuck am I supposed to say? What song is that?